When I was a boy, my grandpa told me a story from when he was in the National Guard. As the story went, he was assigned to a base in Hawthorne, Nevada. Working at the ammo depot was strange, according to him. The lonely reaches of Nevada are isolated, and isolation breeds strange happenings. One day, he was assigned to watch over an office the Navy was using. As the story goes, the Navy was doing submarine testing in Walker Lake. The room he was watching over served as an impromptu communication center with their submarine. Walker Lake wasn't that deep, so this was supposed to be just some new communication technology being tested. The submarine went 50 feet under. All was well. They went 75 feet under, supposedly approaching the bottom of the 86-foot deep lake. But the submarine did not stop at 86 feet. They went to 100 feet before command told them something was wrong and they needed to go up. When they tried to go up, something stopped them, like they were hitting a wall. They lowered again to prevent themselves from tearing the submarine open. The submarine was supposed to be rated for 200 feet, so in an attempt to get out of whatever they were in, the crew tried to lower themselves further. Shortly after that, communication was lost, and the submarine was never found. This fueled my grandfather's belief that all of Nevada was connected via an underwater aquifer. It also was a story that had me absolutely enthralled with strange, inexplicable things. So, today, in celebration of Halloween, I'll tell you some of the more inexplicable things from my life. When I was a kid, I made friends with a bunch of emo nerds, because I was an emo nerd. It was fucking awesome. Because beforehand, my hobbies included reading books and riding my bike for 8 hours with no parental supervision. I was not allowed video games or the internet as a kid, so I got that real Gen X experience. There were 4 of us in this friend group. These are all fake names. We'll go ahead and say there was Kendra, Allie, James, and me, who we'll conveniently call Pen if I have to refer to myself. We would all hang out at this park, under a tree called Fred. The dynamics of this friend group were about as healthy as any group of 8th graders from remarkably shitty homes could be. Allie was in love with Carly, James was in love with Allie, Carly had this boyfriend who we all hated, and I was like 22% of a functioning human being because this was my first group of friends. Allie was this volatile shithead, but under it she was a nice kid. James was probably the most normal of us, but his parents were freaky Christian. Carly had moved across the country due to a bad family situation. My parents are a subject for a different video. But it was a great group we had. We would all go to that park and just play, like actual kids. And that dynamic that we all had of, he likes her and her likes he and they like they didn't matter too much. One day, Carly had this idea to go break into a house in our neighborhood that had burnt down. And we all went along with it because we're 13 and that sounds rad as hell. So we walk to the house and somehow no one stops us even though it's the middle of the day. When we get to this house, it's a burnt out shell, but mostly still standing. The door is locked and Allie thinks she can pick the lock. I don't want to wait around for that though, so I hop the fence and look for a way in through the back, which there is. I slip in through a hole in the wall and Allie picks the lock, and now we're in the house. And inside of this house is red marker everywhere. Like an 80s horror movie scene, there's pentagrams on the walls and floor and burnt candles everywhere, strange writing is all over everything, and we're all confused but curious. There's a paragraph in the back room I snuck into that gets everyone's attention. We get photos, we use Google's image search function, we find some dubious translator online. And what we get from this translator is basically 3 prophecies. I only remember the exact wording of one. The 3 sentences were directed at the Son of Christ, the daughter of the stars, and the daughter of nature. The Son of Christ would rise, the daughter of the stars would find herself home, and the daughter of nature would return to nature. Obviously, we're all weirdly excited because this is like the start to some fantasy novel. There's a catch, though. We only got 3 prophecies. There's 4 of us. We go back to our park and our tree and try to figure out who is getting what. We put together that it's about religious belief. James and I are raised Christian, but neither of us particularly identify with it. Allie is an atheist, so she decides that the star one is for her, and Carly's family had some interesting beliefs being on the more spiritual side, so she decides that the nature one is for her. We don't ever break back into that house. As the school year goes on, we stop worrying about prophecies written in red markers. In November of that year, Carly kills herself. This event completely changed the course of all of our lives. Allie is in shambles, and James can't deal, so he withdraws, and I am a weird, quiet kid at the time, so naturally everyone decides now is a perfect time to start questioning whether or not Carly actually liked me as a friend. One day, after school, I sneak back into that house, trying to find some answers. I get the feeling that I'm not alone, but no one else is there. Eventually, I leave, but as I leave, I swear to God, I can see a woman standing in the window, staring as I walk down the street. I don't know who wrote all of that on the walls, but one prophecy was true. Carly did return to nature the same way we all will. We broke into this house in August, and she did what she did in November. It's possible, likely even, that she immediately chose one because she had it planned. But I'll never know, and it will remain a great mystery in my life. The next weird story that I'll share is one that happened to me when I was 18. At this point, I had moved to a new house, and my life looked drastically different than it had before. Now I was on the outskirts of town, sorta. I was still within walking distance from high school, but across the street from me and my school is a huge swath of undeveloped BLM land. This area was also considered county zoning instead of urban, which meant that the people living here could keep livestock, and they all did. My parents fashioned themselves some sort of farmer and made me do all of the work required to care for goats, pigs, chickens, and turkeys. My neighbors all had horses. I'm grateful for this time of my life for teaching me so much about animal husbandry and butchering. Over the few years I lived with my parents before I moved into town, I came to know animals very well. So in the winter of 22, I was on a Discord call with a friend, and we were watching Twin Peaks. It's about 1 a.m., and I live on the foothills of the mountains. This means that there's about 2 feet of snow on the ground and a deep fog. There's close to a full moon, so it's bright out in an eerie way. At first this didn't matter to me because I was inside, keeping the fireplace stocked and watching TV. But then I hear a horse scream, bloody murder. When an animal screams, it is to get attention. The 3 kinds of attention an animal seeks are often I'm hungry, I'm hurt, or I'm scared. In bad situations, I'm hurt and I'm scared become one and the same. It is a chilling noise to hear. The horse screamed only once, but it's loud enough for me to hear in my room, and as a result, I pause Twin Peaks and tell my friend who's on call to wait. The coyotes still run on public land, and they feed on rabbits. But years when the rabbits are thin, they get desperate. Earlier this winter, some sorry coyote attempted to snatch a piglet and was promptly killed and fucking eaten by Mama Pig. Knowing that the coyotes are desperate enough to try for livestock, I assume the worst for our neighbor's horse. All of the guns in the house are locked in a safe that I don't have the code to, and I'm not going to wake up my mom or grandpa at 1 a.m. So instead I grab an axe and head into the snow, trying to see what's what. My neighbors travel frequently and are old, so I go onto the dirt path between our houses and walk about a quarter mile to their house. The first red flag is raised when I listen and hear only silence. After a coyote has made a kill, it will call and yell to all the other coyotes and let them know that there is meat. The scream the horse made sounded like a death wail, but the coyotes weren't yelling. Still concerned, I press on. The next red flag comes as I look at the snow before me. The coyotes use the same path I am on, but there are no coyote prints. By this time, though, I realize I am almost to the neighbor's horse pen, so I press on. Through the fog, through the cold. It's so foggy out that I can barely see 5 feet in front of me. When I get to the horse pen, I see absolutely no prints in the snow before me. Nervously, I approach the fence and call the horses over. They both come, uninjured and unbothered. This is when I start to feel deeply uneasy. Neither of these horses would have screamed like that and then been unbothered, but here they are. Something about the situation is off. In the distance, through the fog, I can see my neighbor's motion-activated light turn on. I can't make out anything else. Now, the alarms are going off in my head. I came out here because I heard a horse scream like it was dying, yet neither of the horses close enough for me to hear are dying. Additionally, there are no prints of anything that would have attacked them or scared them. There is only me, a small axe, and 2 unbothered horses in the completely silent, foggy night. There's also whatever set the motion light off, which I can't make out. I can only see a bright spot in the fog. At this moment, I decided to head home. The horses I came to check on were fine, and something about this whole situation feels off. As I back away from the horse pen, the horses return to their shelter, but I still feel like something is watching me. It's now that I take out my axe and walk at a regular pace back to my house. I don't stop feeling watched the entire walk back, to the point that I actually walk backwards, facing the neighbor's home the entire time. I'm on our narrow path between properties, and it's not until I get into my house that I stop feeling like something is about to snatch me from the snow. I get the whetstone and return to my room, sharpening the axe and watching Twin Peaks until my nerves settled and I could go to bed. Real-life weirdness is separated from fictional weirdness by different kinds of unease. In both, there are events that happen, yes, but the response is different. In narratives, the protagonist is made by the author to pursue the story until it is told. In reality, if there is an author, they seldom push us to fully pursue a narrative. More often than not, we are the authors of our own stories. Real stories come full circle and fruition in the narratively satisfying way we are accustomed to very rarely. But there's still something to be said for sharing stories, and more importantly, living them. Blessed are those who experience weird, inexplicable things. We often lament the world for not being fantastic, or strange, or even magical. But the world is the world. It is on us to go out and meet it where we want to. This means that the world can be strange, fantastic, or even magical. But only if we seek it out. I'm not saying to go become a conspiracy theorist or to go live in a horror movie. Definitely don't do that, even though I just told you 2 spooky stories. But I am saying that our constant hunt for stories can often be attributed to a lack of lived stories. So this Halloween, go find some weird shit, or don't. I can't tell you what to do. Thank you so much for watching this video. You've made it to the end. Congrats. Whoa, another pen's back from the dead. If you're new here, go ahead and click the subscribe button. If you're not new here, go ahead and comment, like, do whatever you want. If you didn't like the video, dislike, leave a hate comment even. That being said, thanks so much for watching. I'll be with you soon. Have a great time, and until next time, memento mori, but more importantly, memento vivier.